Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises to manage clients and projects with max efficiency, sharing Wix's SEO tech to help you drive growth.
Fix errors, waste, and issues in a couple of clicks. Get alerted whenever you're off track. Sign up at trueclicks.com.
Gosh, this is awesome. Hi, guys. So yeah, I'm Annika. I'm the SEO director at Seeker Digital. Is my team somewhere? Hi. Please come to our stand. We're also sponsors. So yeah, like Becky said, I work at Seeker. I was trying to find like a really cool picture of myself doing like cool stuff like mountaineering, but I don't want to lie to you guys. That's me more often with a wine glass in my hand. And yeah, like Becky said, I've been in marketing for quite a few years and in SEO about 7 years now. And during my career, I've encountered lots of sites that seem to be doing really well SEO wise, even with like seemingly little effort. Like maybe you even have better content than them, or you might have better quality links than them, and still it's impossible to outrank them. I mean, it's amazing if it's our own site or our client site, it's like, yes. But if it's not, it can be really hard. And as you can imagine, I have a theory. Based on this topic, you might guess what it is. I think their biggest secret is that they're really good at brand SEO. Now, you might ask, what is brand SEO? That's not a thing. I've never heard of it. Well, lucky for you, I will explain it to you today. So we're going to start with like the basics. What is actually brand SEO? Why is it important? Why should you take this topic from today and start to apply it in your work? And also there's some practical tips in the end on how to audit your current brand SEO health. So let's start. What is brand SEO? So I wanted to create a like very nice, succinct definition for you guys to take home with you today. I think brand SEO can be considered as the SEO activities that reinforce brand signals and then in turn support organic growth. And as you can see, I've highlighted brand signals. A lot of you might have heard about brand signals as a term. And lucky for you, if you haven't, I also have a definition. So brand signals are really important, especially when we're talking about having Google understand who your brand is. What are your values, for example? What is your purpose? What's your value proposition? And be able to, communicate this to Google, but obviously your users as well. That's effectively what brand SEO is. We all know that SEO is built with 4 core pillars. I mean, well, we can have our own definitions, but for this one, let's use the 4. At Seeker, we call it the CULT, like content, UX, links, and technical. When we're talking about brand and SEO, actually brand is part of all of these 4 pillars in some level. Obviously, when we're creating content, we want that content to be matched with our brand messaging and positioning. Perhaps we have some brand guidelines to follow when we're writing content. Obviously, UX one is the biggest one. It's the visual identity of your site. It's often the visual identity of your brand as well. It's associated with our links. So which brands are we happy for our brand to be associated with, and other websites as well. And obviously the professionalism of our site, does it perform well for the user? So why is it important? We can see that it's part of SEO, but why do we need to know how well we're doing with brand SEO? SEO and brand are like in constant communication with each other. SEO can also help brand. Like obviously when we're improving our visibility of our site, more people can see our brand and therefore our brand awareness improves. With certain tactics like digital PR, we can also improve reputation for the brand. And generally when we're creating content marketing or SEO content campaigns, we are very strict in terms of the messaging that we write, and it can be really good when you're trying to integrate your brand messaging as well. But even more importantly, brand can help SEO in 2 really cool ways. Firstly, obviously SEO results. So again, when we have a brand, perhaps we get more branded traffic, therefore our site's popularity increases, and maybe Google wants to show us for more queries as well in unbranded searches. In other words, also the SEO efforts can be much easier with a solid brand. When we have an authentic brand behind us, well, firstly, content writing will be easier when we have brand guidelines to follow. Digital PR would be pretty impossible without a brand. And same with when we're building links, it's easier to get them approved when there's a brand behind it. It's really hard to be different at the moment if you don't have a brand. It's hard to stand out in the SERPs. As you can see, they're going crazy. They're really busy. How do you even compete if you don't really have a brand? In certain markets, obviously, SERPs look different. This is an example of an e-commerce section of Google, which is obviously really busy, and you really want to stand out. If we're talking about brand signals, we obviously want Google to consider our brand as an entity. A really good example of it is Apple. If you search for Apple, basically in any, especially English-speaking country, it took me 51 positions to find the fruit. It's all Apple, the company. And it's a really cool test to do if you want to see like in the US or UK. It's really important for Google to understand who you really are. They even mention reputation and popularity in their search quality rating guidelines. Here they're using Marriott as an example for query hotels, and they even say they have a good reputation, they're authoritative, so they should have a great rating. I've got a couple of examples of brands that do really well in brand SEO. I wanted to show you a company called Oura. Has anybody heard of Oura? People nodding? That's good. Yeah, because they're Finnish companies, so I want people to know them. Now, so Oura has been ranking number 2 for Smart Ring in the US for a long time. Let's not talk about the March core update. Don't even bring it up. But if we're looking at the page that is ranking, is their homepage. The keyword difficulty, pretty high, 81. Volume is obviously high as well. So I wanted to investigate, like, why is their homepage so good that it's ranking for like a product keyword? Actually, their content isn't great. Like, if you're looking at Surf SEO, their content score is 27, like much lower than all the other top 5. And their tech is decent. It's sort of mediocre, not amazing. A lot of their links were also mainly branded. So how come they're ranking for an unbranded keyword so well? Sorry, this screenshot is very blurry. But you can see that 80% of their traffic goes to their homepage. Over 600,000 visits. Not only that, but 88% of their whole site traffic is branded based on the research I did on Ahrefs. And the 88% of the traffic comes from only 9% of their keywords. So most of the hundreds of thousands of visits are branded. And I mean, they're doing pretty well. They were valued at $2.5 billion a couple years ago. So surely they're doing great. Another example I wanted to bring quickly was Airbnb. As we all probably know Airbnb, the big brand, one of the biggest ones in the world. They've been in the news recently. Well, firstly, when they announced that they're moving a lot of their budget from performance marketing, mainly ads, to brand marketing. So you would be like, oh, why do they need to do brand marketing? They're one of the biggest brands in the world. They were in the news again recently, a couple of years ago, to share the results. And the results were great. And they said, no, we want to do more of it. We want to do it in different markets. So surely there's something there that if even the bigger brands and bigger companies want to do brand marketing more. So if we're building an SEO strategy, we don't want to disregard brand. We want to celebrate both unbranded and branded, and they can be best friends. So, to the practical section. How do you actually conduct a brand SEO health check? I've created an audit template for you, and please do scan. You'll get access to the full audit, few notes, how to use it, and I'll go through a few of the metrics today, not all of it, just to make sure that we don't run over, because I could be here for 5 hours to explain it all. I'll also share, obviously, the URL afterwards as well. So don't worry if you don't have time to scan. Now, I've divided this audit into 3 core categories: site metrics, qualitative analysis, and external signals. If we start with site metrics, as you can tell, obviously, we want to look at what's the distribution between your branded and unbranded traffic. And there's a few different metrics that you want to check, especially for branded, you want to see, is the brand actually elevating your site? Is it bringing more results? Because as we all know, most often branded converts better than unbranded. So you really want to see if it's actually benefiting your site or not. And when there's a question of, okay, well, what's good? Like, how do you know the amount of branded traffic that you get is good? In Order's case, it was 88%. So you might be like, whoa, that's surely too much. Well, you can't really know unless you do a bit of market research. So you really need to understand what's the level and what's the distribution with your competitors as well. So you want to know, are you below or above them? Should you get more unbranded traffic? Perhaps you have a big gap in your content that you have to fill with other ways. But it's always best to compare to the current market level. Then the bit more fun stuff, quality of analysis. You really want to look at your brand pages, and obviously homepage being the biggest one and the most important one to audit. So you want to really look at the site elements and how do they resonate with your brand messaging. So looking at H1s, metas, taglines, CTAs, does it make sense for your brand? And does it differentiate your brand from your competitors? You can even do like mini user testing. You don't need to do a full UX analysis, but maybe ask your partner or your parents to check your homepage and look, what do you think about our brand? What do you think we offer? An even more fun test is called the grant test. Has anybody heard of the grant test? Not many. Okay, cool. So it's from this book called Building a Story Brand. I recommend reading it. It's very sort of brand focused, but there's a few website stuff as well. Really interesting if you want to learn how to write a tagline. Like I've never even thought of that. So the grant test really means that when a user lands on your homepage, they should be able to answer these 3 questions within 5 to 7 seconds. So instantly, above the fold, no scrolling involved. So they need to know what is it that you offer, how does it make their life better, and what do they need to do to buy it? Again, perhaps H1, tagline, or CTA. So really good to analyze the effectiveness of your homepage content. This is not actually a video, it's just a nice screenshot. But yeah, bring again Airbnb back to the conversation. So they were talking about in one of the sort of recent press releases that they really want to use their brand to not only advertise their new features, but actually very much highlight how do they make for a different experience for their audience. Now, when we're talking about brand, we're obviously talking a lot about stuff that are outside of our website. And therefore, in this audit, the external signals section is definitely the biggest one. There's multiple different metrics that can be really interesting for you to look at, especially if you look at with maybe a team member. You might want to do scoring separately and compare your scores just to see like what's the actual current situation. But within this list, we're going to focus on brand search visibility, which is at the top, and brand search popularity, because they're really the ones that you want to start with. If we're talking about brand search visibility, we often associate that with brand SERP real estate, like very fancy word that most of us have heard, perhaps. So if we're literally just Googling our brand, what comes up? Most often for smaller brands is perhaps homepage, some socials, maybe Google business profile. When you have a bit more, I guess, bigger brand or medium-sized brand, you might start seeing people also ask questions even. So in Order's case, we're bringing Order back in the example. They actually have lots of people also ask questions, as often tech brands do. As you can see, not all of them are very positive. So you really want to know what people are not only asking about your brand, but also what are they writing about your brand. If you're not owning the space, you don't really control what people think about it. Actually, out of these, they only have one of their questions is within that FAQ. So it can be quite interesting to understand how do you need to update maybe your About Us page content at an FAQ section, for example. Image results. Are you showing your website's own image results? Are they user-generated results? Does it look like your brand? Maybe there's an issue with you not tagging your brand name in the alt text. So you really want to understand. These are 2 different markets. One is Finland and one is UK, and they all look very different. So you really want to know what do the users see when they search for your images. News results, one really big one, obviously. Do you even have the news feature for your brand? What are the news features like? Are they positive? Are they negative? Do they perhaps mention your competitor, like Samsung here in Oda's case? So you really want to be able to monitor this constantly, especially if you do digital PR, of course. You really want to understand people will be searching for your brand, especially if they see your campaign. You really need to know if it's like positive or negative sentiment. Same with video results. It can be obviously tricky to find the budget, but as you can see, it can be really, really important to outrank the user-generated content. In Oda's case, there's a video of Jason Derulo, which is great publicity, having a very, very swollen finger, and they have to cut the ring off his finger. So again, not necessarily super positive. So we would expect to see Oda there at the top for their video results. Obviously, knowledge panel is a big one when we're talking about brand entities. Not all websites or not all brands will have a knowledge panel, where if we're using your Oda as an example, on the left we have the UK knowledge panel, and on the right is the US. They're all different, which is interesting. So you really want to check all your markets and see what's the difference. In the US, there's some accordions, and you want to double check that it makes sense and it resonates with the audience. And if you don't actually have a knowledge panel, you can always check the about the source on Google for your homepage. So the 3 dots, just double check, like, what does Google actually appreciate about your brand and what do they think your brand is about? Now, everybody's talking about forums, so we have to talk about forums today. Obviously, for certain brands, there will be lots of forum conversations. You really want to understand why is it that people are talking about, and maybe you should be part of those conversations if it's about your brand. And obviously, they're becoming more and more visible, so you really want to kind of own that space. And then finally, AI, we can't ignore that either. So it's always an interesting experiment when you search who is brand or what is brand on different large language models. Here I use Gemini, Claude, and Copilot. Again, they're all very different. They all have different results. And what is even more interesting after this search, if you ask them, where did you find this information? They might start listing, your homepage, about us page, reviews, G2, etc. So it would be really interesting to understand where does your brand content really live at the moment. Then finally, when we're talking about brand search popularity, the core metric that we all know is brand search volume, of course. That's perhaps the first thing that we check. However, there's much more information that we can gather. For example, you might be surprised by the different markets that might be searching for your brand. You might want to understand how difficult it is for your competitors to rank for your own brand keyword. And generally, is it going up or down? Especially if we're looking at Google Trends, that can be obviously a great way to figure out, was that digital PR campaign successful, or how is our social campaign doing? Is the trend going up or down? So you really want to be aware. And then finally, out of the sort of popularity metrics, share of search obviously is a big topic, and it's been for a few years. I actually wrote a column piece for Women in Tech SEO newsletter. Please, everybody sign up on how to create a report like this and really please your stakeholders and make them more aware of your brand search health and your brand search popularity compared to your competitors. Now, before I finish, I wanted to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Firstly, obviously, we were talking about brand SEO. Brand is a big topic. Brand is a big subject, and it feels very fixed. And like SEOs can't impact brand at all. It's not true. When you start auditing your brand and effectively taking that information and applying it to your various different SEO strategies, you can see really great results. But you just need to be patient. The change will not happen overnight. It's the same with everything in SEO. Try to be as consistent as you can. It's easy to neglect the offside because it takes time, it's expensive, it's hard, but it's really important to have an integrated strategy for brand SEO as well to really get the best results. And try to be adaptable when you can. Although, like I said, brand seems very fixed, that it can't change, nothing can change, but actually you can change, you can pivot your strategy when needed. Everything's changing all the time around us. Your competitors are changing. They're maybe rebranding or repositioning. Google is changing. And soon, perhaps your brand search will look completely different. So be ready to pivot your strategy when needed. And I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you.
monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.
Demand sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.